Pretty interesting because you have this really diverse group of founders, myself included, along with Sarah Beth Felix and Damon Magnuski. And we come from very different backgrounds. I like to say, reformed banker, decades in the space, global capital markets, traditional commercial lending. I started my career doing loans to early stage technology, life science, and biotech companies, and then transitioned into something very few people know about called foreign exchange. And Damon, who's a nuclear engineer, saw a problem with individuals being able to kind of like hedge currency risk. And then Sarah Beth Felix, she spent her entire career helping community financial institutions mitigate some of the issues they had with their regulators. And she still does that today. She has banks and credit unions all around the world that use her for that assistance. And how we all came together was really just a conversation around correspondent banking. And smaller community institutions in the US have limited access to correspondent banking. Most people don't know about correspondent banking. Most people don't care about correspondent banking. But they would if they knew that their local, smaller community bank sometimes was at the mercy of larger banks. You have no idea, you don't even care. So we said, let's change that. Let's spin up a new institution, or what we call de novo institution, add a lot of technology and help community banks and credit unions facilitate that. And that's what we did. And so that's the origin story for Acceleron, was our group really wanting to change the face of correspondent banking in the US. And we've done that. So we now have Acceleron Bank. We're a Vermont state chartered financial institution. And our goal is to really empower community banks and credit unions with technology that helps them serve their communities. Yeah, this is a great question. What is a lesson or the many lessons I've learned as a startup founder? It's a few, but I think there's one I'd like to really touch on, which is your investors are not your friends. And I don't say that in a bad way, but as founders, when you actually accept capital from investors, whether they're institutional or friends and family, at that point, I think it's very important to realize that you have just become a fiduciary of their capital. And as a fiduciary, that means that we are now responsible to live up to the expectations of those founders. Maybe they invested in you because it was such a great story. Maybe they invested in you because, it was your mother and you're their child, or they really wanted you to succeed. And I really think that, and I haven't seen this too often, but in some cases, people forget that, there's a fiduciary responsibility that comes with accepting capital, whether it's from institutional or that initial friends and family seed round. And it is our responsibility as founders to live up to the expectations that we put upon ourselves to increase capital, increase that return on investment, and see it through. Well, I read a lot of news, and my day sort of begins with kind of Google News, our Flipboard. I really go out of my way to try to control the algorithm, because it's spitting out just random content that, you're like, okay, that's really not my interest, but you assume it's your interest, AI. But really, it's not necessarily one particular website. So I use Flipboard, which really just kind of presents news that it thinks that I want to see, but it's around entrepreneurship, it's around technology, business. I read sports because I liked to begin my day reading about other people's successes, not their failures, or at least they're trying for success. So I read the sports section first, and also business, just to see what's happening in our industry, but also throughout the world. And that could give me insights, inspiration into kind of next ideas. So I curate the news and I read the news very specifically for intentional purposes. Yeah, so favorite memory of my time in the RevTech program. Well, one, I love Queen City. So any chance to just be in Queen City is an opportunity that I won't pass up. But two, it really was working with the other founders and entrepreneurs on a day in and day out basis, being in the same room with them, and you just gain inspiration from seeing other folks manage their companies. We all go through the same challenges or relatively similar challenges, even though they might be in different verticals. But there's an energy that comes with just being in a space with other entrepreneurs that are they're trying to make their company successful. You're trying to make your company successful, and looking for natural synergies between their operation and yours to see how you can assist each other. So that energy, coupled with just being in Queen City and the phenomenal restaurants and activities that are there, was a great part of my time while in the program.